Hello and welcome to AutoCAD for beginners. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use the modify section of the home panel. In this, I'm going to be showing you the command move, copy, stretch, rotate, mirror, scale, trim, fill and fillet. I'm also going to be showing you the command offset. So you can see that there are a lot of commands in the modify section. Now, before we begin, I'm just going to tell you that if you select any command from the modify section, for example move, a pointer is going to be changed to the small square that shows that a command from modify section has been activated. To show you the first command, that is move, I'll just create a random object on screen. Say for example I have this object and I want to move it. What you can do is you can just select this command from here, or you can enter the command using the keyboard. Move. It's asking me to select the objects. I select them. I just press enter or spacebar. Well, you see AutoCAD assigns similar function to spacebar and enter, so you can use either of them. I personally prefer using the spacebar more, so I just press spacebar and it's asking me to specify the base point. Say I specify the base point as the center of this whole figure, and I can move the object wherever I want. So this is the command move. Just press escape to end the command. The next is command copy. For that, it's pretty similar to the command move. I just select it from here, or I enter it, select the objects, press enter, specify the base point. The only difference between move and copy is that copy is going to retain the original object. So you can copy this object as many times as you want. I'm just going to press Ctrl+Z. I'm going to show you another use of the copy command. In this, I'm just going to activate the copy command again. Select this object, press enter, and I'm going to show you the command array. First, I'm going to specify the base point. I'm sorry, I just messed it up. I'll use the command copy, and I'm going to specify the base point. Now I'm going to start the command array. It's asking me copy, specify second point or array. So I'm going to show you what this command array means. For that, I'm just going to press enter. It's asking me the number of items to array. Suppose I want 5 different copies of this particular object. I'm going to enter the number 5. So you see 5 different objects have appeared. Now the fascinating thing is that the distance between these objects is going to remain the same, which I can enter manually as, say, 5,000. So as you can see, we have the copy of the same object 5 times, equally distanced as 500. You see the distances between the base points. For example, between these were the 2 base points of the object, so the distance between the base point is going to be 500 and not the distance between the lines. So that's how the array commands work in copy. The next thing I'm going to be teaching you is the command rotate. For that, you can actually first select the object and then select the command, or you can select the command and then select the object. It works either ways. So I just selected the objects first which I want to rotate, and then I click the rotate command. It's asking me to specify the base point. say this, and you see I can rotate this object however I want. Say I rotated it to this. Now I want to make it horizontal again. Of course I can use the command Ctrl+Z, but suppose I want to make this particular line horizontal in this object. How do I do that? Using the command rotate, I just select this, enter the command rotate, select this base point. So you see, no matter how hard I try, the polar tracking is not working. That's because this object is rotated on a different axis. So now I'm just going to have to enter a reference line. For that, you just press R and press enter. It's asking me to specify a reference angle. Say I specify the reference angle as this. Now I can rotate my object in according to this line, and now we have the object finally horizontal. That's how the rotate command works. The next command I'm going to be showing you is the offset command. Offset command is this small icon over here. This is my favorite command. I use it a lot. It helps to create concentric circles, parallel lines, and parallel curves. So I'm just going to select this, and it helps to create an offset. Say I want a similar rectangle inside this rectangle at a distance of say 300. So I specify the offset distance as 300 and I press enter. Now if I select this object and I hover my mouse inside this, another object is going to appear at a distance of 300 from the original one. And if I hover the mouse outside this object, it's gonna offset towards the outside. So I can offset rectangles, circles, and basically anything. I can even offset lines. For example, this particular line. If I use the offset command in this, we can also offset lines over here. I can offset it as many times as I want. The second thing I'm going to be showing you about the offset command is the command through. For example, I have a line parallel to this particular line, and I enter the offset command, and I just specify the offset distance as through. For that, I just have to enter T, enter, and it's asking me to specify the object, say this. Now I can select the object and I can specify the distance on my own, like this. So this is another use of the offset command. It's called through. So that's all about the offset command. The next thing I'm going to be telling you about is polylines. We already discussed polylines. I just entered the command for that, p line. The offset command also works for polylines. Likewise, it works for basically any objects, but say this line is not a polyline, these are different lines. For example, I make a similar shape using lines, and then I try to offset this. I'm gonna have to offset it one by one. So just make sure that whatever object you're offsetting, if you want the complete offset of that object, it has to be a polyline or one singular object. And that's only when the offset command works. The next thing I'm going to be showing you is the command trim. Let me just draw a figure. let's say I want to trim these 3 lines, and I'm going to do it in one go instead of selecting this and then clicking this point, end point, and putting it here. It's going to be a tedious process. So instead I'm just going to use the command trim. For that you can either go over here and click the command trim, or you can just enter TR, enter. Now my version of AutoCAD is AutoCAD 2022. If you're using versions below 2022, you're gonna just have to wait a little bit. And for people who are using AutoCAD versions of AutoCAD 2021 and above, they can simply trim this using these commands. You can hover over the lines and it's going to trim them for you. Now for the people who are using AutoCAD below the versions of 2021, don't fret. I'm just going to enter the command TR, enter. And for previous versions of AutoCAD, if you just enter T, enter, that's how the previous versions of AutoCAD work. So if you just enter the trim command, it's going to work like this. Say you're gonna have to select this object and these objects. You basically gonna have to select these objects, the object from which you want to trim, or the objects you want you want to trim. So I'm just gonna select these 3 objects. I'm gonna press spacebar again, and then I'm going to trim these objects. That's how trim in AutoCAD earlier versions work. But I'm going to show you another useful things that the earlier version has. For example, I want to trim these particular lines over here, not these lines but the whole line. So for that I'm going to have to select the line from which I have to trim and the lines which are to be trimmed. I'm not going to select this particular line. Now I just use this command. So you see, I don't have to trim this side and this side separately. It just trimmed on its own, the whole thing. It didn't consider this particular line while trimming. So that's what the previous versions, that's what the advantage of previous versions are. So that's how the trim command works. The second thing I'm going to be teaching you is the command extend. For that you just have to select this, or you can use the command extend from here. It's asking me to select the objects to extend. I'm selected these objects and just extended them to this particular line. So that's how the command extend works. But I'm just gonna have to press Ctrl+Z to show you another application. Suppose I want these lines to extend till over here. For that I just select these lines, use the command extend, and select the object, I just select these lines, use the command extend, and select the object like this while double pressing it. So that's what the trim, that's how the extend command works. I think it's fairly easy. The next command is, I'm going to be teaching you the next command, that is the command mirror. For that I'm just going to have to draw a random object, which is a rectangle, and another rectangle and a line. Say I have this particular object and I want a symmetrical copy of this object. I don't want a copy, I want a symmetrical copy, basically a mirror image of this object. For that I just have to select this object and click on the command mirror over here. It's asking me to specify the first point of the mirror line. Now if you remember that when you're standing say 5 centimeters away from the mirror, the distance of your reflection from you is going to be 10 centimeters. So if I want the distance between this object and its mirror object to be, say, 5 units, no, yeah, 5 units, so the distance of the mirror line has to be 2.5 from here. Say I want the distance to be 1,000 units, the distance of the mirror line from this object has to be 500 units. So for that, I'm just going to have to hover my mouse over this area and click 500, press enter, and you see the mirror line can be in different directions. It's going in all sorts of different directions. I want it to be horizontal like this, and it's asking me to whether erase the source objects. I just press enter because the command of no has already been selected in default. So I just press enter, and that's how the command mirror works. So you just have to imagine that you're just placing a mirror in front of an object. The second thing that I'm going to be teaching you is the command fillet. So for that, I'm going to be drawing 2 different objects. For example, this particular line. I'll just show you what the command fillet does. Fillet rounds and fillets the edges of objects. So it's basically going to change the edge of the object to a round thing. So I'll just select this command. It's asking me to select the first object, and it's asking me to select the second object. If I zoom in, you can see it did nothing, but that doesn't mean the command didn't work. It's basically because we didn't enter any radius while filleting the object. So if I use the command fillet again, select my first object, and you can see over here, select second object or radius. If I just enter the radius to be, say, 500, and then I select my second object, you see a curve has appeared over here. Now suppose I wanted this, while creating this curved object, I wanted this particular line to be gone. I only wanted the edges of this object to be rounded. So for that, I'm just going to erase this particular arc, and I enter the command fillet again. This time you can see that there are 4 different options over here. You can see the command polyline, radius, trim, and multiple. For now, I'm going to use the command trim. So it's asking me to enter trim mode. If I enter the trim mode to T and enter, let's see what that does. I select the first object and I select the second object. You see the corner that was appearing, it's gone now. So that's how the trim command works. Some people may already have the no trim command activated. So for that, I think you understood how that is. So just press Ctrl+Z again, and I'll show you other things of the fillet command. I just enter F, enter, and it's asking me multiple. Say I have this particular corner and I have these corners. I want to change the shape of all these corners. So I just enter M, enter, and I select these objects. I keep selecting them and they're going to change their corners. But to do this very quickly, I had this as a polyline. This particular thing is a polyline, and so is this particular object. So to do this a bit quickly, I'm just going to enter fillet, and this time I'm going to use polyline. So if I just select the polyline, that's what it's going to do. It just created corners over this polyline. Well, if I just have the no trim command activated, if I have the trim command activated in this, T enter, trim, and I activate the polyline command after that. If I select this, all of this is going to be a polyline. Even the corners, the rounded arches, they have become a polyline. Instead, if we have the no trim command activated, the arcs are different and this line is different. So I hope you understood what the fillet command does. Next, I'm going to be showing you the chamfer command. So fillet command is similar to chamfer command. In fillet command, we have a kind of an arc instead of a corner. In chamfer, there's a line instead of a corner. I'm just going to be showing you that. For that, I'm just going to have to delete all these lines. So if I just use the chamfer command, the shortcut for chamfer is CHA. It's asking me to select the first line and it's asking me to select the second line. Again, it did nothing because we didn't choose any chamfer distance. So I'm just going to select this command again, select the first line, enter the distance, D enter. It's asking me to specify the first chamfer distance. I'm going to specify it as 100, enter. The second chamfer distance I'll specify as 500 and enter. And if I just select the second line now, you see that a small line is appearing over here. Herein the distance of this particular thing is 100 and this particular thing is 500. So this is how the chamfer command works. If I just enter the chamfer command again, you can see it has similar options as that of the command fillet. It works in a similar way. I hope you just practice on your own and understand how these commands work on your own, except that you have over here is the angle. So over here I specified the distance initially. I can also specify the chamfer command using the angle. If I just press A, enter, and if I just enter the chamfer command, if I select the first line and I just enter the angle, it's asking me to specify the chamfer length, 200, 200. Angle, and it's asking me the first, and I enter the second as 202. So the chamfer angle is coming to be invalid because 200 degrees is not an appropriate angle. So since we entered the angles of 200 and 200, and the command was showing invalid because we cannot have two different angles like that. Now if I enter the chamfer command again and I select my first line and enter the angle, say I select the angle of 45 degrees for the first one and 45 degrees for the second line and select this, you can see it's selected 45 and the second angle is also 45. So just press enter and select this. You see the angle of 45, it's chamfer at an angle of 45 degrees. The angle from here to here is 45 and the angle from here to here is also 45. So you must make sure that if you have this particular angle at, if you have this particular angle, say 90, the other two angles should also add up to 90. So basically, I'm not here to teach you maths. You can understand those angles by yourself. 45 angle is basically the angle of this imaginary line and this line, the chamfer angle. So that's how the command chamfer works. The final command in this video that I'm going to be showing you is the command scale. The scale command is a pretty widely used command. For example, if I have this particular object, I'm just going to delete this and make a new object over here. See, I make this rectangle over here, and I have the dimensions of, we have random dimensions. I'm just going to enter a rectangle with specific dimensions this time. Say I have 5000 by 4000. So over here we have a rectangle like this with the dimensions 5000 per 4000. So say we want to scale it to a different size. To activate the command scale, you just have to select the object, enter SC, enter. It's asking me to select the base point. That's going to be this, and you see that the triangle in the rectangle, it has changing sides. Presently the scale factor is coming to be 1.4, but I want a scale factor which is exact 2, so that means that the rectangle is going to be 2 times its original size. I'm just going to press 2 and enter. So the rectangle has been scaled to twice the size. The next command, property of the scale command would be, suppose I have this rectangle and I want to scale it, and I specify the base point as this. Now you can see that I have an option of reference here. So if I enter enter, and it's asking me to specify the reference length. Suppose I want to change the dimension of this particular line in an object to say 200, and I want to scale the entire object according to that. I don't want to calculate the scale factor for everything, so I'll just use the reference length. So I want this particular length to be 200. I select this, I press, it's asking me to specify new length. Now I want this length to be 200, and I press enter. So the whole object is scaled according to that particular length now. So that's how the scale command works. If you want to know if you that you scaled this object perfectly, you just enter the command di. It is the command for distance. This line is now 200 and this line is now 250. So the whole object is scaled according to what you wanted it. So I guess that's it for this video. I hope you understood. I know we struggled a bit in the chamfer command, but I hope you finally understood how the chamfer command works. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next videos.